Hey guys, and welcome to this new stream. I thought it'd be a good idea, being that we got a new version of Factorio, to set something up for people new to the game. Now I'm playing from a completely fresh install of Factorio stable, and we're going to be looking first of all on how you set the game up. And the first thing we're going to do, we're going to look at the settings. So you can see that we've got a menu with various options on it, and if we look at the first thing, I've already set things up a little in here so that we got things appearing on the right screens. Most of this you can just leave alone until you know more about it, so I'm not going to linger too much on this one. So we'll go back to the next menu. Controls. You can configure every single control in the game, which can be useful. I'm going to make a couple of alterations to shoot selected, because if you're in chat and you forget to turn it on, you can end up doing a lot of damage if it's set to C. And the other thing we're going to do, we obviously need to change the toggle chat now. And the other thing is to set up the new quick bar. The first thing I'm going to do is turn rotate. Now then, I'm trying to remember how you set this so it's disabled. So anyway, we'll stick an unused key on there, I think. So the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to change the active quick bar to up arrow. This may not seem very useful to you at present, but it will soon become apparent why I've done that. So all that is now done. So let's look. Obviously the sound settings, you can change the different volumes and to your liking. I've already set these up how I want them, so we can just click back there. The other thing, interface. Now there's some various things to do here. I've as it comes, it uses an automatic UI scale of 75%, which is a bit small if your site isn't good like mine, and so I've shoved it back to 100%. And the other thing I'm going to do is to reset the train visualization, which is new in 17, so that it's 6 carriages long, because I tend to use a train configuration called 141, which is 1 loco, 4 carriages, and then another loco at the end, which is 6. And the other thing I'm going to change is the active quick bars. Now I'm going to leave that as it is at 2 for now. We might change that later. All the rest we can leave as default for now, so let's confirm that. Other, single player autosave interval, I'm going to set for 10 minutes, and everything else on there can be as it is. Mod settings we don't need, because we're not using mods in this playthrough, so we can go back to the next menu. So mods, if you want to do mods, there are all sorts of different things that you can do. If you click on install, you will get a list of all the mods that are currently available from the mod portal. but on this one we're not going to use any because it's a pure vanilla playthrough. Finally, if there are any updates to the mods, you will find them all in here. So we can go back to the menu now. About means you can check for updates. It gives you information about licenses, etc. We don't need to look at that. We just click go back here. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to click on play. And we're going to do new game. And you can see that there are all sorts of settings here. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on the preview button so that we have an idea of what's going to happen, and you can see that we've got a nice default map here which is mainly desert. Now desert maps are difficult because the biters, which are your enemies, get activated by the amount of pollution that you create in this game. And desert does not absorb the pollution very well. So the first thing we're going to do is click on terrain, and we're going to try and change the terrain type. So this one here controls the distribution of red desert versus sand. So we're going to turn that off, and we're going to turn the scale of moisture up, and this one is the one that switches off the desert. Now you can see we've still got some desert over here, but the main area, which is where our starting area is going to be fine. The other thing I'm going to do with this playthrough is turn off cliffs, because they're just get in the way of this playthrough, I think. We're going to also, I'm going to turn down the frequency of the enemy bases, because in 0.17 the developers have increased the aggressiveness of the biters. They've also increased their hit power and also how much damage they take. So I'm going to turn them down a bit. We'll turn them down to 50%. We'll leave size and everything as it is. So now let's go back to resources. You can control how much, how big, and how much in the patch you get of all the resources. And you can see this change on the map as we go. So I'm going to leave the frequency on 100%, but you can see if I change this up to 200, you can see how the patches become bigger. So let's go back to 100%. So the same will happen with the others. So you can control how much you get. You see there's the copper's gone bigger there. What I am going to do is I'm going to turn up the richness, because we don't want to be running out of resources and having to go chase after them too much on this playthrough. So that's done. So what we're going to do, as soon as you've got a map that you quite like, and this looks good, the only thing I haven't covered is water. You can control how much water you've got, and the coverage, and you can see that we've got a lot more water now at 600%, and if you put it that way you hardly get any. the scale doesn't work how you think it does. If you increase that, you can see you haven't got as much water on the map now. That is because the size of the water areas has increased, so that there isn't as much room for them in the coverage. So consequently, there aren't as many. But if you go back the other way, you can see you get loads of them because you can have lots of little ones. But I'm going to turn that back to 100% because I quite like the look of that map anyway. Trees are important at the beginning of the game, but to be quite frank, a damn nuisance as you get towards the end, because they just plug up your inventory with wood, which you can't use for anything. So I'm going to turn those down to 50% on the coverage, and I'm going to turn up the scale slightly. I'm going to turn it down slightly. And you can see it all reflecting in the map. So here we go. Once you've got things as you like, you press play. And here we go, straight into the game. Now, Woober very kindly added these tips and tricks, which help you if you're new. But I'm going to turn those off because it's just going to interfere with the video. So we go close. So we will get the instruction. This is Factorio free play. Your task is to launch a rocket into space, and you will need to research technologies in order to unlock the rocket. So click tab to get a way out of that, and off we go. Now the first thing I'm going to do is change the bottom quick bar to 0. This is something that I do. You don't have to do this at all, but it does mean that I can have a set of basic stuff on the bottom row of the quick bar, and I can, due to the settings I did earlier, I can use the top row to change which particular quick bar goes on top. And you can see that we've got some buttons here. You'll find that as we play, they will get added to. But for now, we're just going to leave it. Now, the first thing, I'm going to press E to open up the inventory. And you can see that we've got a burner miner, a stone furnace, 1 wood, and 8 iron plate, which gives us enough to build a couple of things. So the first thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to open up the map by pressing M, and I'm going to mark the point where we've spawned. Now the reason for this is that we don't want to build a factory over the point where you're going to spawn if you die. And I'm going to usually give it a power mark Mark II icon. So you can see we've got some resources over here. They're all nicely bunched up in a little neat row. And we've got some additional stone on the map. And we have the patch of the native inhabitants just here. So the first thing that we want to do, we need to generate a bit more iron plate. So for that we need fuel, so we'll get some wood, and I'm going to drop the first burner miner down here. And the stone furnace, and we'll put 4 bits of wood in here and 1 in there. And in the meantime, I'm going to go and look for some more wood. If you've got any questions or anything, by the way, please feel free to put them in chat and I'll do my best to answer them. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get some stone, which will mean that we can build some furnaces. Right, let's head back over here, and we can see that both of these have run out of fuel. I'm not surprised. We'll generate a little bit more iron plate so we can make some more stuff. Now the button on the right here, this thing here, will turn, if we turn it on, it will show you what's inside things. The other way, you can also use the Alt key to do that. So I'm going to press this one now. And you can see it tells us that we're making iron plate. And we've got enough to do a little of what we want now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this iron plate, and we're now going to craft 2 more burner miners. And I'm going to do a couple of stone furnaces as well. Now at this point I'm going to head over to the... Yes. It's not very easy to see the coal here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 burner miners facing into each other and start them off with 1 piece of wood. Now those miners will put fuel into each other but at twice the rate, so that when we need coal, we can just come over here and grab it from them. So the other thing I'm going to do is make another of these. And put So at this point, it's a good idea to check the map and turn on pollution. We can see that already we've got a big patch of pollution now. And we need to keep our eye on that, because as soon as this pollution hits this nest here, we're going to start getting attacked. So the next thing that was vital to our survival is to set up some power. And for that we need iron plate, and we also need copper. So I'm going to use some more of the stone to make 2 more stone furnaces and a burner miner. And set up some copper mining here so we can have some copper plates. And we can see that's run out, so let's get some coal. Coal will fuel these things for a lot more than wood will. So while that's cooking, I'm going to chop some more wood. The thing is that we don't really want to thin out too many of these trees at this point, because trees absorb a lot of pollution. It kills them in the end, but they do absorb it, which means that they don't get to the biters as quickly. So we're generating some nice steel plate there, so we can grab that. By the way, you can take things out of containers, furnaces and assemblers and so on, by holding down control and clicking over them. So to take the plates out of that copper furnace, I hold down control and click. If I only want half of what's there, see with this, I'll wait for that. Hold down control and click right click, so I only get half of it. Grab some more coal. So, in order to make power, we need pumps and boilers and steam engines. And you can see that we've got enough stuff to make what we need. So I'm going to make 1 pump, one boiler, and 2 steam engines. And I'm also going to make a couple of underground pipes and some ordinary pipes. If you right click, it will tell the interface to make pi of whatever you're clicking over. So you can see that I right clicked over that one to get 5 pipe. Okay, so we need to think about where we're going to put our power unit. And the main source of pollution at this stage is the power plant. So we want to try and keep it away from the biters as far as possible. So for that reason, I'm going to head over here and we'll put our power on the shore of this lake here. Of course, we're assuming that there aren't too many biters over this way. So, first thing to do is place down the pump. And it's always a good practice to leave a space before you boil it, which is why we want the underground pipe. And I'm going to put a single pipe in there for reasons which will become apparent later. And place that boiler there. And 2 steam engines. So now, you can see that we've got a yellow no power icon flashing here. So that means that we need to make some power poles, which is why we wanted the copper. So I'm going to right click on the power pole thing, and because you make 2 for every click, it's made 10 power poles, and I'm going to put those at the bottom here, because power poles are something you use a lot of. Now then, I've just realised I've done a stupid, and I've connected the engines to the water input output, which is not going to work. The steam engines need to go on the steam output that you can see there. If you can't see it, it means that you haven't got the alt button selected. And you see that the little icons, but if you mouse over it, it will show you the input and the output. But I'm going to turn them back on. So if we put some coal into the furnace, into the boiler, it will start to make steam. And then if we put a power pole in there,